Hello, my name is Neil Bleiweiss. Welcome to my portfolio. In this video, I'll be briefly walking through the layout of my portfolio, including how to navigate the 5 AECT standards and some examples of how I met each of these 5 standards via the various artifacts included. Beginning on the home page, underneath the header, you can find a short section about me and my interests, as well as my professional background. Though this serves as a sort of cover letter, you can also learn a bit more about me in a digestible format by clicking the About Me link from the menu. In addition to my headshot, my Myers-Briggs types, and my Clifton strengths, I have also included a condensed narrative to share a little bit more about who I am as well as my educational background, and a copy of my resume, which you can also download by clicking the link on the page. Following the About Me page, you can click the link to my video tour. That's where you are now. And then onward to the AECT standards and the artifacts themselves. On the AECT standards page, you'll find a slideshow that will take you to the artifacts for each standard, and below the slideshow, my reflection on the AECT standards and compiling my portfolio. Before we get into each standard, if you'd like to access all of the artifacts at once, you can click the Artifacts tab on the menu. This will take you to a full menu of all artifacts used by each substandard that they align with. As a note, to view the artifacts on each page once you're there, you can click the button that says View Artifact. You'll see on some pages where I've included both a paper and a video presentation that there are separate buttons to view each format of the artifact respectively. Underneath the introduction to each artifact, you'll also find the list of competencies that the artifact demonstrates. And then the final menu item, Contact, at the top of the page, will take you back to a short contact form on my home page to reach out if you have any questions. Now that we've covered the portfolio navigation, it's time to dive into the artifacts. Standard 1 addresses content knowledge. And for this standard, I'll be sharing my artifact for Standard 1.4, which covers managing. Candidates demonstrate the ability to effectively manage people, processes, physical infrastructures, and financial resources to achieve predetermined goals. To meet this substandard, I have included my final project job aid and project overview from the Technology Project Management course. This artifact serves to meet the managing substandard by demonstrating my understanding of the management of people, processes, and financial resources in particular, including information such as an impact statement, organizational considerations, a communications plan, the project plan and schedule, budget, and closeout plan. Upon opening the artifact, the first page is the aforementioned job aid before going into the project plan. Creating a job aid serves as a one-page introduction to a project, overviewing of key points of the project management process for a viewer to understand your project without having to read the entire project overview, if they so choose. Following the job aid, we dive into the actual job overview itself of the project. For this project, I had proposed developing an online learning course for USF admissions personnel to learn the highlights and requirements for the USF Health graduate and professional programs. So you'll see throughout this overview how that would be developed, from organizational considerations and SMART goals, to a defined communication plan, planning for resources and expenditures, into the project schedule, and beyond. Going on to Standard 2, which addresses content pedagogy. For this standard, I'll be sharing my artifact for Substandard 2.1, Creating. Candidates apply content pedagogy to create appropriate applications of processes and technologies to improve learning and performance outcomes. For this substandard, I have chosen my final paper and presentation from Current Trends in Instructional Technology. This paper and presentation required an overview of an emerging technology's role in an educational setting, as well as a lesson plan using an emerging technology, pros, cons, and recommendations. For my educational setting, I chose to address emerging technologies in graduate and professional health education, including but not limited to virtual and augmented reality, and focusing primarily on the role of the mobile phone and the mobile application. My lesson plan involved the development of a mobile learning lesson in medical Spanish to help students better understand and communicate with Spanish-speaking patients in the event of a medical emergency prior to a medical interpreter being able to arrive. In developing this lesson, I had to consider the activities themselves as well as their pedagogical foundations. Following the lesson, the artifact concludes with potential benefits and concerns, and my recommendations for educators who may consider this technology. This project demonstrated the competencies of assessing the relevant characteristics of the target audience, assessing the relevant characteristics of the setting, selecting instructional media, and recommending instructional strategies. For Standard 3, Addressing Learning Environments, I'll be sharing my artifact for Substandard 3.6, Diversity of Learners. Candidates foster a learning community that empowers learning with diverse backgrounds, characteristics, and abilities. The selected artifact for this substandard is my individual reflection and group presentation for our distance learning final project, in which we were tasked to create and develop a distance learning module in a small group that could be implemented and evaluated over a 2-week teaching timeframe. My group focused on producing an English module for a 5th grade distance learning special education course using the community of inquiry as our framework. This project ended up being incredibly enjoyable and special to all of us, as the reactions of the students were both heartwarming and showed positive indicators of success. This artifact has been chosen for this standard as it works with a non-traditional group of learners, with the students having various levels of accommodation and needs in addition to their diverse backgrounds. The competencies demonstrated by this artifact include assessing the relevant characteristics of the target audience, assessing the relevant characteristics of the setting, selecting instructional materials, and developing training materials. To cover Standard 4, which addresses professional knowledge and skills, we'll look at my substandard artifact for 4.1, Collaborative Practice. Candidates collaborate with their peers and subject matter experts to analyze learners, develop and design instruction, and evaluate its impact on learners. For this artifact, I have included the Group Front-End Analysis, or FEA, developed in my Problems in Instructional Design for Computers course. The FEA was compiled as a group to evaluate the context of the training that we were to develop, assess the target audience, review the design implications, include a goal task analysis, proposed methods, and more. In this project, each group member developed individual responses to all sections and questions, and then my responsibility was to compile all 3 into one submission. Additionally, from the individual FEAs, my goal, context, and parts of my target audience assessment section were used in our final group deliverable. This was selected as an artifact to demonstrate the collaboration between myself and my group members as we worked as a team towards our final goal of producing a computer-based training. The competencies demonstrated include performing a needs assessment and analysis, assessing the relevant characteristics of the target audience, assessing the relevant characteristics of the setting, and performing a job, task, and/or content analysis. For Standard 5, which addresses research, we'll close with my artifact for Substandard 5.2, Method. Candidates apply research methodologies to solve problems and enhance practice. The artifact served as the culmination for my motivational design course and was selected to be my motivational research proposal. This was designed as a research proposal using the principles of motivational design for education. For my paper/presentation, I chose to focus on the previously mentioned project from Standard 1, developing a training from the USF admissions personnel, using the following research theories and frameworks: Keller's ARCS model, self-regulation theory, academic emotions, expectancy value theory, arousal theory, and Keller's systematic motivational design process. This artifact required extensive research into motivational design theories and their respective applications as I worked to identify those most relevant to the training, and then using the compiled research to determine the most effective motivational interventions to then create and complete the training. This project demonstrated the competencies of performing a needs assessment or analysis, assessing the relevant characteristics of the target audience, assessing the relevant characteristics of the setting, performing a job, task, and/or content analysis, selecting instructional media, recommending instructional strategies, and developing performance measurement instruments. Though I have not touched on all of my included artifacts in this video, I hope you've enjoyed this brief video tour and that the artifacts included are educational to any aspiring instructional designers. Thank you for your time, and as always, go Bulls!